Well, it feels like it's been a pretty quick show so far, maybe because of the last game. 7-1 victory for Q confirmed over the Chiefs. Not the best opening night for the OCA teams. After all, 1-2 after that glorious comeback from the Knights in match number 1. We move ahead though, Raven, of course. We've got one more game to go tonight. It's a big one. Invictus Gaming International versus Wildcard.
Yeah, I'm actually so excited for this for multiple reasons. I mean, one, Invictus Gaming International, welcome to APAC League. But also Wildcard, they had such a tumultuous stage 1 with the issues with their roster, and now they've been able to actually rejuvenate it, bringing in a new player and a new coach. So could be the changes they need for stage 2.
And that's the thing, right? This was I don't mean to flame by any means, but on Playday 7, this was our show match because it was playing for pretty much nothing. Unfortunately, both these teams just did not get off to the kind of red-roaring year, I would say, that we expected them to. But certainly this is a really good opportunity for them to tidy up their mistakes from stage 1 and kind of push on and progress in stage 2.
Let's go look at the lineup for Invictus Gaming International. Of course, there has been changes within the lineup, along with, of course, the organization. Joe comes in. Isera goes out.
Joe who?
Joe Mama.
Oh!
Jesus, what am I working with here? Raven, please, can we bring some semblance of control back to the broadcast and take us through this roster?
Yeah, with pleasure, Xenox. Look, this is definitely a roster that everybody should be very familiar with. Of course, regular faces between Lunar Metal, Hysterics, Speakeasy, Jordan, but yes, Joe, a new player to the roster and not a super well-known player, so very much potentially an X-Factor or something that could bring some rejuvenation that is needed into the Invictus Gaming lineup. So I'm really excited to see how this match pans out. I feel like they should really be revitalized by not only the new signing, the new home, but also a new teammate.
And look, I'll be completely honest here. Hysterics and Speakeasy, the combination, the duo that they bring to this roster is pretty much unmatched, I want to say. They are absolutely gnarly in how they're able to really represent, I would say, this roster in the best fashion. We know that Hysterics was just an absolute maniac last stage. I am really concerned for what happens if this roster really is, as Raven puts it, together for stage 2.
Let's go look at their opponents. Of course, Wildcard, a team with their own changes. In this case, it's definitely for the better rather than last stage where it was for the worse. Moloska comes in, guys, and I think, this is going to be still a growing stage, Raven. I don't know if you can put full expectations on this roster to suddenly achieve the heights that maybe there once was, say, at the back end of last year.
Yeah, I think for them it's just about putting stage 1 in the past and moving forward with what they've got now. Moloska is a fantastic addition. We did see him play pretty patchy for the Chiefs. He was a sub last stage for them. But, he's always been pretty well known in the Oceanic scene as a bit of a prolific up-and-coming young player. So to get this opportunity, I think, is a really big deal for him. And we also know he's not just like a sharp gunner. He can play support roles. He's actually a really good, leader in the background and good with communication, which really fills a massive void that they were having in stage 1 when they lost Diesel. That's pretty much what he was known for, as the leader, the really solid communicator. So I think things are looking up for Wildcard, and it's a really big opportunity for them to prove that to everybody tonight.
And also, with a jawline like that, you could cut through metal. So I do think that we look back to stage 1 and hope that maybe this metal-cutting jaw of Moloska can kind of come close to what Emo Room was able to successfully achieve. What is that look on your face?
That is just me looking at the audience saying, what? What is this man on about? I'm going to actually cut you off there. Because you know what we're going to do is let's just move this forward a little bit. We're going to look at the map vetoes for this game, Rob, and then I'm going to now throw it back to you so you can now turn to a proper discussion.
Oh, what? Back to me? You want to turn to me instead of the actual color of this segment? That's okay. You know what? You can throw me under the bus all you like. I think that as we're looking back at the bans, Invictus taking off Chalet, kind of 2-in-1. 2-in-1, 6-in-1, half a dozen in the other. How about that? Do you like that one a little bit more, Xenox?
No, I don't.
I remember back when Wildcard were, heating up toward the end of 2020, Villa was their stomping ground. They were really scary on Villa. Whenever a team took them there, that was where they seemed not most comfortable, but more comfortable. However, the consulate ban from Wildcard as their last choice between either, I feel like Invictus have actually let that consulate ban go through because Wildcard have been shaky on it. But previous to last stage, just like Villa, they were one of the best teams in the region on it. So I actually think this has just been a mind game from Invictus, allowing them to choose their place of death, if you
Yeah, I guess you could say it like that. But look, I think certainly it's hard to read into Wildcard Stage 1 results because I just think coming into Stage 2, things are really different for them right now. And even their older results, you know, like this roster is significantly different to what we saw really rise all the way through 2020. But look, I think Villa is a really fun map to start out on because it was the map that we last saw these two play. And that was a 7-1 victory for Invictus. I don't know why you're laughing, Matic.
Xenox. Is
Classic.
it? Is it a fun map for them to play on Raven?
I don't think it's a fun map. I don't like Villa. But hey, everyone's got their maps that they do like and that they don't like. In terms of predictions here, it was very much unanimous across the board. Everyone's gone Wildcard, except for myself. I've gone for Invictus Gaming International. Am I far off the mark here, Raven? I mean, we haven't had a clean sweep tonight. We've always had at least one person who's bucked the trend. In this case, I'm going to be that one. IG, do they have much of a chance?
I mean, I think they do because I didn't predict them and I'm 0-3. So you probably set Xenox.
Oh, no.
But
Going for the Owen.
I'm going for the Owen. But no, look, I think this is actually a really tough game to predict because both teams have had some pretty interesting changes that could really easily affect their performance positively or negatively. I think it really brings with it a lot of guessing. I just really felt that Wildcard would be incredibly fired up because I know that Stage 1 was super frustrating for them. Not saying it wasn't for Invictus either because I know they expected more from themselves. But Wildcards was a lot more an out of their hands thing with what happened with their roster. So this stage is in their hands right now. I'm sure they are incredibly hungry to try and get a really big victory here.
Yeah, I think that this game, and especially this stage, Raven, I 100% agree with you. I think this will determine whether Wildcard's issues came because of Diesel leaving or the fact that they only had a coach being able to fill in Silex, because, you know, both of those are huge blows to take. You know, you never want to have a player that hasn't really been involved in the game in a playing sense, mechanically speaking, for some time. But also you don't want to lose a strong influence like Diesel and like they did. So this is a really big benchmark for me for Wildcard. All the Stage 1 aside, everything that we talked about, let's just pocket it and let's see what they can achieve, because it's the same goes for Invictus. We had such high hopes for them in Stage 1. They really fell under the radar and quite shockingly really just did not perform nearly in any of the matches from what I can remember. There was no match where we said that's the team that we knew in 2020. So this is a huge time for them to start their campaign. Late as it may be, it's never too late to start.
Well, I think to sort of summarize things, this match could go either way. Invictus Gaming International versus Wildcard Gaming. Your casters, it's Guz and DevMata.
Yep. Cheers there, Xenox. This is a big game, obviously, guys. It's not just the two of the highest achieving teams ever in APAC South, but also it's a big moment for Invictus Gaming International making their debut in Rainbow Six. And also something that we haven't really touched on yet about that team is that this is the first game that Lunametal has played without his longtime duo Ysera, as Ysera was subbed out, obviously, for Joe. Those two have been playing together in esports since 2010. That is 10 years of an esports partnership. That is unbelievable. Let's see what Glenn can do without Ysera at his side. It is Villa. It is a rematch. It is Invictus versus Wildcard.
Yeah, I know Xenox might not be a fan of Villa, but I am all for this map. So thankfully, Dev, I'm casting with you. Should help preserve the health of my back a little bit. But yeah, keen to jump into this one. Such an exciting storyline between these two, both having such a devastating start to this year. Stage 1 for both of these teams, frankly, was pretty awful. But now is the chance to bounce back, and the beauty of the road to that 6 Invitational is that teams can make later runs in stages 2 and 3, accumulate points, and work really hard to try and achieve that goal. Heading into the bans though, Thatcher and Flores taken off And honestly, I feel like this is a trend that we may well see continue throughout the entirety of Stage 2.
Yeah, I mean, already 3 out of the 4 bans that we saw last map, once again replicated here. People do not like Flores, or maybe it's just a matter of time. Maybe it's, he's makes a bit of a splash because he does something that no other operator does. He's an explosive utility clear, but he's not affected by the Jaeger Wamai, so it's a bit of an X factor. Just ban it because maybe teams haven't quite learned yet how to play against it. They're going to keep trialing stuff in scrims. But, of course, we do head into the game without Flores, without Thatcher, without Wamai, so just relying on the Jaeger and to some degree the Aruni to protect against projectiles. Valkyrie also getting banned out. Very, very common one. I mean, Wildcard are a team that they always kind of do the same kind of thing. Like, they're a team that has known to really just have specific strategies that they like to lead into. One of those is banning out Thatcher, Valkyrie, almost every single game.
Yeah, well, one thing as well that is pretty exciting in this round is Rin jumping onto the Tachanka, and that launcher recently has been given quite a few adjustments way back in, well, not way back, but back in Year 6, Season 1.3, so the patch previous to North Star. You want me to I'll just rattle off the changes, okay? So his magazine capacity of the launcher was upped from 5 to 7, so that's a pretty big increase there. The duration of the fire that gets shot out was increased from 5 seconds to 7 seconds, and the time for it to detonate was also reduced. So it's much more effective in denying plants, similar to, I guess, a smoke, which has also been brought to the table here from Vincier. The speed of the projectile and its drop-off has also been adjusted to be more powerful, and we have seen Tachanka in glimpses in some of the other regions already in Stage 2, so he may well now be a seriously viable operator in competitive.
Yeah, and it's not that he's necessarily a smoke replacement, but in this case, a smoke complement. Of course, we have both brought to the table. Really early control, though, from Invictus downstairs. Already starting this vertical plate. Preparing for it, at least. The main stairs contested as well. Only a matter of time before that starts to be pressured upon. And 3 players making their way up the main stairs. Information out there for Wildcard. Speakeasy has absolutely no hesitation as he files all the way up. He's going to take out the Yokai as well. Immorin's going to put out some fire and try and reinforce over. But Wildcard are being met with the full force that IG bring to the table.
Yeah, some of that plankton are now taken away, but as you mentioned, Dev, the complement of the Tachanka should help later into the round if required. Still decent control obtained here by Wildcard in some of these key positions. Red stairs held by Milo, and I believe they had some 90 as well. Yes, that is Geo. So the northern side of the map, at least in the meantime, uncontested by Invictus. Wildcard looks to close this out and trying to pick that. Maybe Geo with a Nitro could find one, but there's also a player crouching down the long corridor as well. They need to be careful. It is Speakeasy. He does get the pick. The swing from Geo doesn't connect. Speakeasy with such a good start. And now it's Milo, the newest member of this roster in the 1v5. He drops one, but Hysterics will clean it up. And it's a great start for Invictus.
Wow, what a introduction to Wildcard. Milo, here you go. Have a 1 versus 5.
Thrown in the deep end.
IG are absolutely nuts. They are on something. I think that something is fire. It certainly doesn't matter that Tachanka has brought the Shamika, because IG have brought some aggression. 3 players filing up the main stairs so early in the round. There is no hesitation. This is a team invigorated and ready to climb that ladder back up to the top of APAC.
Yeah, doesn't feel like it was that long ago last year where Invictus, previously known as Giants, were quite literally at the top of the APAC region, or at least arguably top alongside Cloud9, of course, who are now in APAC North. But they were such a scary force, and they'd been around for so long. Everyone knew who they were from APAC. And that seemingly was all thrown out the window come Stage 1 of 2021, where they really struggled, not only in APAC, but over the 6 Invitational as well, where they didn't make it out of the group stage. I believe they took down Makers and TSM in the group stage, and that wasn't enough for them to progress. So it's pretty safe to say that, without a doubt, stage 1, or at least the first half, I guess, of 2021 has been disappointing for this Invictus roster, but like I mentioned earlier as well, there's an opportunity to bounce back. You could, theoretically, from today onwards, accumulate enough 6 invitational points to still make it inside the top 20. I have no doubt that is still possible, and that is what I think will be fueling Invictus.
Yeah, that said, of course, not getting any SI points in stage 1 means that that's going to be a heck of a lot harder, right? Like, Invictus can't be like, yeah, we'll cruise it, we'll get like 3rd place in APAC South, you know, maybe 5th overall APAC. Nah, you really need to be like, not only topping APAC South here, but topping APAC as a whole for Invictus to really have a shot at one of those SI spots for next year. But once again, these guys waste no time whatsoever. Pat in an aggressive position, mere meters away from Hysterics, but will Hysterics find him? Pre-fire from Pat gives away his position. Hysterics is waiting, goes for the peak. Hysterics is the best rated player in all of APAC South. And a terror in the server, but he hasn't found that engagement as of yet. Pat gets away with his life.
And Pat probably happy when he watches this VOD back that he didn't decide to take on Hysterics, who has been incredibly sharp despite the rest of his team struggling a little bit at the start of this year. Map control looking to be obtained here from the southern side by Invictus. Hysterics has a good foothold here, and with the Gon 6, he can begin to clear at least one piece of utility, preventing him from walking inside of Stack cleanly. Wall at bedroom is electrified, making that difficult to bust open as well. Does look like Joe is maybe going to progress on that side of the map and get something going. He doesn't have a hard breach in hand, and we could see maybe team up with Jordan, who has it. But in the meantime, they're just gaining intel, getting a feel for the objective, and maybe trying to find a pick or two before they set up for the exit.
Well, bit of a util sync here on the trophy site. Good information. Did they eventually clear out that shield? Hysterics is going deep! Once again, Invictus show that they've got a lot of bite. Still haven't managed to take a chomp out of Wildcard yet, and in fact it is Luna the first to fall. The pulse below proves lethal, and now Hysterics goes hunting. 50 seconds left, but finally Jordan finds the first pick for Invictus. Hysterics chases down Milo's downstairs, and now he's pushing up Astro. 3v3, but Joe holds on, and now Jordan forces that plant down. Hysterics, a dangerous player, has 2 in his sight, finds one, finds the double! And IG starts storming through Wildcard.
Oh, that is sharp. That is sharp. And he's even running the cheeky card charm there. Just rubbing it in the face of Wildcard a little bit there. Bit of a meta game going on, but my word. That is scary. And like you mentioned earlier, Hysterics at the very top of the ratings. And when he shows up, he is very difficult to shut down. So concerning signs here for Wildcard as we open up stage 2. But there were, glimpses of good plays there for sure. We saw Milo be really disruptive there on the pulse, for example. But when it really came down to that execute, unfortunately, they were really just caught off one player, Crouch, walking up Astro stairs. If that hadn't have been the case, if Hysterics was shut down, that result probably would have flipped.
The thing with IG is they've just shown no hesitation whatsoever, and that is scary. When there can be 50 seconds left on the clock, and Invictus are just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to solo push into side, see how deep I can get stat, and then if I don't find a pick, I'm not going to overextend and lose my life, I'm going to fall back. And the fact that, 30 seconds into the round, Invictus were already in Aviator, that is so deep, so early on. In fact, I'm actually really curious. I would love to hear the comms of IG, because they had such an early presence, and then there was like a whole minute where they didn't really look to be getting much further. Now, I have no doubt that, things were happening in terms of the comms. They were droning and clearing areas. But if in the first 30 seconds they've cleared Aviator, and then a minute goes by and they haven't really taken any more ground, I don't know, it's funny.
Talk about funny. That drone from Jordan is no joke, and Milo gets taken down. I think it was off the back of that intel as well. Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I thought it was someone else that I saw from the outline. Honestly, my eyesight is not great.
I think
Oh,
was.
it is. Okay, yeah, you can see
his
the
gun,
Oryx.
You can see the
Yeah,
Oryx
so
logo.
yeah, no bodies in Siege anymore. Client-sided was having issues. They were different positions, different players. You could hide in them, etc. Now being replaced now with the little disc, has the operator icon. So yeah, that was Milo taking down there, and I believe part of that was off the back of the intel, that drone inside of the little plant pot, proving fruitful for the attack. Another good start here for Invictus. They get the opening pick for the second time in this map, and they'll be looking to convert this into a win. No presence above at the moment here from Wildcard, but they do have information. Pat with the Nitro down below does shut down Joe, and in doing so, evens it up 4 apiece.
IG have had a lot of good info that did enable them that first pick, but losing their sledge now suddenly makes the vertical game a little bit more challenging. Speakeasy is running breaching charges, but it's the only breaching charges that IG will have, which means that getting Vert on some of those pivotal players on site like Pat and Geo is going to be very tough, and Vinny takes down Luna. Suddenly that flank watch is taken down a C4, takes down Speakeasy. He's not going to be making any more vertical holes, and now Wildcard may have managed to springboard themselves back into this game up 4-2. But Hysterics, he's always one to watch. He's found his second on the round.
Don't count this man out in this fight. Jordan alongside with the AK-12 could do some damage, but his job is to worry about getting this plant down. Pat still has the pulse scanner up, and he'll be able to call when Jordan pushes in, and the rest of the team should be able to relax. The Banshee pops open. Of course, that's recently been nerfed as well, and eliminates the ability to completely stall this attack. But it doesn't matter. Wildcard's still able to shut them out, and that was such a great round from Pat. He delivered so much intel to the team, and they played off it really, really well.
2 C4 kills for Wildcard. It was quite the explosive round on both sides. The round opened with a nade kill from Hysterics, and Wildcard managed 2 C4 picks as well. I'm going to reiterate, I think it was really impactful. Those 2 players that were C4'd by Wildcard, it was the Sledge and the Zafir, the only players that could get Vert, both of which have to get really up close and personal to the floor in order to actually operate the sledgehammer or put a breaching charge down. Unfortunately for Joe, he was just kind of caught off guard. He clearly had no idea that he was vulnerable to C4s below, didn't expect it. He was taken out when he was just holding an angle, but I'm pretty sure that Speakeasy was actually taken out while putting down a breaching charge. Goes to show how exposed that makes him. But now that we go back to the Aviator site, Joe switched on to the Buck. He's already played this for most of the rounds, and I feel like it's a bit of a safer way to go for that vertical ground, especially when it's a kitchen attack, as you're less vulnerable to those C4s. What I'm really looking out for here is whether Invictus take that really fast and early map control once again.
Maybe. Same operators being brought to the table by both teams, as we saw on round number 1, where Invictus were able to close out the round convincingly. In fact, it was almost flawless. Milo was left in the 1-on-5, found a pick, but then was immediately prevented from pulling off anything magical. Invictus claiming quick map control, able to swiftly take down their opponents one by one, and no trades were delivered. And a lot of that damage really was delivered from Invictus themselves over towards that long corridor on the western side of the map. Once Vinny was taken down and the top of Brown Stairs was exposed, Invictus capitalized upon that really, really well. So keen to see if we see, I guess, the same level of pressure applied on that position by the attack.
Once again, Vinny is the opening pick here. Once again, it is to Speakeasy. Must have been a little bit aggressive there on the stairs. Where is that cheeky? There you go, halfway down the stairs. We just lost that fight. A little bit too aggressive there, perhaps, for the smoke. It's a lot of util gone. Milo's actually roaming downstairs as well.
Milo looking to trade out. In fact, his former teammate, Milo and Vinny, played together way back on Team Sinister in ANZ. Now they are reunited here on the side of Wildcard. Milo, though, does rotate away, uses the basement. Doesn't often see a whole lot of gameplay, or at least gunfights. Poke his head up. towards the red stairs, maybe trying to catch a player off guard, but Invictus, all of their efforts currently focused on the brown stairs, it would appear at the moment.
But slower than last time we saw this push from IG. Milo's on for this flank as well, caught in the air jab. Is anyone from IG watching? Jordan flicks onto Cams. Milo's playing it patient. He knows he doesn't have to push and go up his life as of yet. Even though Wildcard have a numbers disadvantage, they have some pretty strong positions, but that gets a bit more difficult now. Speakeasy has found another kill. That's a great shot, though, from Rin with the Tachenka DP 27 in hand, and he does some damage. Now Milo's back on site and ready to take some fights with a 416. The Wildcard just hold here when the IG push. There's Milo going down to Joe. And IG now have a 4 versus 2 advantage. It's just Pat and Emo to hold on.
Drone's being used here to find the final 2 defenders. Pat looks to get aggressive. The Bearing Knight so good at the moment, but it doesn't quite drop Luda. The Nomad survives, and now Rin is left in the 1v3. He needs to hold out for 25 seconds. He does drop one, doesn't quite get traded, survives on a lick of HP. The launcher will send flames over towards Model, but Speakeasy shoots him in the back of the head, and the attack will close out the round.
What a showing from Speakeasy, and I love the tribute there on the M762. The Team Secret skin, the Evil Genius's charm, bit of a throwback, but he was throwing punches left, right, and center that round. I think it was a 3K, all said and done. Speakeasy's always been renowned for being a big fragger, sometimes overshadowed by Hysterics, who is kind of just in his own category. But
an absolute machine.
He really is. But honestly, Speakeasy's had such a good game today, and really having a lot of impactful kills, 2 opening kills as well. And it's really leading Invictus into this advantage. As Wildcard only have successfully defended Kitchen Dining so far. This is their 3rd attempt at Aviator Games. And, well, at some point, something's got to give.
Yeah, and it feels like Invictus have, I guess, dusted off the cobwebs a little bit, keeping in mind that most of this roster on their return back from 6th Invitational had to quarantine in Singapore for 21 days, so quite a distant period. And I can't help but feel like if they were scrimming, the conditions probably wouldn't have been ideal. You're not in a home setting, you're not as comfortable, etc. So it would have been a little bit more challenging for them. So to see them, I guess, come out of the gates here in their first official as this roster, it's good. They're off to a solid start, and they'll just be looking to continue on this form. Starting on the attack can be tricky. You're the ones that need to initiate a lot of these fights and get things going, and they are really putting in an effort to achieve those outcomes and are keeping Wildcard on their toes.
And again, this is a very important match for both of these teams. Both of these teams are on a quest, a journey for redemption. They're the 2 teams from APAC that went to the Tokoname Pro League Finals back in 2019. Both had incredibly impressive showings. Wildcard almost took down Na'Vi, who were the eventual Pro League champions. And Invictus, at the time, Aerowolf, took down the Giants at the time, which is now Rogue roster, which was a massive upset and definitely one for the history books. And while, obviously, it's been a while since 2019, I think that event in particular really earned both of these teams their place, not just on the APAC Hall of Fame, but also the World Hall of Fame. It's not like they've won a major or an invitational or anything like that. I'm not overhyping them. But in terms of the context of APAC teams that have made an impact on the international stage, that have been impressive and turned heads overseas, these are 2 of those teams. And 2021 has been shocking for them. Wildcard lost Diesel. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, he stepped down. And last minute, Wildcard had to sub in Silex. They couldn't even get a free agent. It wasn't part. The transfer rules really made it hard for them to have a good stage 1. As a result, they ended up last in APAC South. And Invictus at the time, Giants, 3rd last. Definitely a far cry from what we expected of them, which was, oh yeah, undisputed best team in not just APAC South, but APAC. So this is the redemption for both of these teams. And it's difficult to say if we have any indication of what their permanent form will be like and how they'll stack up against other teams. This is the first step.
Yeah, I mean, overall in APAC South, right, we have seen teams go through waves of volatile form, and I can't help but feel, considering both of these teams, I guess, are in a bit of a rebuilding phase, that finding consistency is going to be hard at the best of times in ideal conditions. Maybe with Wildcard competing in the Oceanic Nationals, that could help increase their form a little bit, maybe in comparison to some of their rivals. But yeah, I'm very interested to see just how they tracked. And we had the conversation, or at least teased it a little bit earlier, that both of these teams realistically still have a chance to make it to the 6th Invitational in 2022. Just got to get my numbers right there. Jeez, that's ages away, but they need to put in that hard effort.
That's the scary part.
Well, yeah, true. It is. It sounds in your head like 2022 sounds like it's ages away, but it's like, what, 6 months or
yeah,
whatever. So
we are halfway through 2021 already, guys.
Yeah, that's wild.
How is that?
Yeah, they need to put in a lot of work, and as you said that they don't even need to be the best in APAC South, they need to be the best in APAC, but they also need to really put it up against teams internationally to earn as many points as possible, right? In the major, that's where the real points are to be earned. So a long road ahead for both of these teams. Maybe 2022 SI isn't a realistic prospect. Just have to wait and see. Maybe 2023 is a little bit more on the cards, but you never know with Siege. Form can come out of nowhere and seemingly dissipate at any moment as well.
Yeah, and it is a tough time for APAC at the moment on the global stage, right? Obviously, we haven't had a lot of global competition very much in the last 18 months, but SI 21 just passed in May was not a great result. All 3 APAC teams went out as early as they could have, unfortunately, and the only reason that Cloud9 made it to playoffs was because well, it was them or Cyclops, right? Yeah, and while we did see some really amazing games, like, you know, C9 beat FaZe, Cyclops almost beat BDS, almost beat Empire, some really impressive results from these individual teams. Even Giants, you know, taking down Makers was, I think, quite a statement, quite an impressive victory for them. But, Invictus now rather, not Giants, but it's not enough, right? And I think in terms of just overall tracking of how APAC is in terms of how much of an impact the APAC teams have made on the international stage, like if you look at a timeline, I feel like we peaked in 2019 with Norengo and Fnatic, right? Ever since then, like, yeah, Norengo and Fnatic definitely had a fall off, and it was Wildcard and Invictus that stepped up in late 2019 with the Tokoname event. That was so big, right? Like Invictus, they beat the now Rogue roster. Like that was such a pivotal moment for APAC history. Ever since then, it's been shocking. 6th Invitational 2020, you know, before all the lockdown and the break of the global competitions, even that was terrible for the APAC teams. And so both of these teams have to redeem themselves within our region, but also then someone's got to redeem APAC as a whole.
Yeah, you painted a bit of a grim picture there, Dev, but that's all right. There's always, you know, rise from the ashes, I guess you could say. APAC has, APAC's had it rough. You know, they were introduced later into the program.
Oh, for sure.
But we don't want to feel sorry for ourselves, right? Because APAC love to put up a good fight, and we love to stick it up to some of the other regions when we can. So you never know who the next team from APAC will be to step up to that next level. Will it be one of these 2 teams, or will it be the likes of Elevate or Knights? Who knows? I wish I could tell you. I cannot read into the future. I don't even know what I'm going to be having for dinner after the broadcast. I'm having for dinner tomorrow night. I don't think that far ahead, so who knows? Have to wait and see.
Yeah, this is where you and me differ. See, I do meal prep.
You're smart, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And I live at home, and you don't. I'm a mummy's boy, and you're probably not. Yeah. Oh, maybe you are. Yeah, you probably are, actually. I take that back.
I'm fortunate enough to have a good relationship with both my parents. My dad and I play chess, but he's really bad, so I beat him all the time. Even though I'm really bad, which you can attest to, because you beat me all the time.
Well, yeah, and I'm not really that good, so I don't know what that says about you.
And Silex, who coaches Wildcard, beats both of us all the time.
Yeah, Silex is big brain. That's why he's the team manager of Wildcard. And we're just casters who aren't very good at the game either. We're not very good at Siege, but well,
we try.
We do. And talk about trying. Wildcard will be trying to get themselves back into this map on the back of the rehost. Yeah, those footholds inside a piano.
Yeah.
That's a very spicy angle, and Geo playing it quite aggressively.
How about that read as well, though? Because every single round, Invictus are really early taking piano control, right? And getting this vertical game. Wildcard like, hey, Give me some low holes so they can't just walk into piano willy-nilly. We can contest them on the long angle. And even if that doesn't net a kill, right? Even if it only nets, what, that 45 damage onto Joe, it might... Wait. Oh. Wait a second. What? Speakeasy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Speakeasy straight into sight. He is traded, but it's a 3-on-3. And that spanner's been thrown into the work. It's gunked up the gears. And now Wildcard are suddenly on the verge of the bomb site being stolen from them. But Invictus have taken too long. Now it's a 2-on-2. There's so much time. We're not even halfway through the rounds. But almost everyone in the server is dead. Hysterics is still alive, and he is one of the most dangerous players in the world. Vinny and Pat to hold on now. The IG are red hot, and they have shown they are not afraid to make some plays. Hysterics now patient, waiting, timing this push with Joe. Joe goes for the peak. Sandwiched between multiple angles are the Wildcard players. Hysterics goes deep, spots out one player. There's Vinny going down, but it's a one-on-one. Pat against the rookie for IG. Joe, sub for season upon season. And now he steps up to the plate. He's got to make this count. Grabs that diffuser and peels back into games. Looks to make a plant happen. Does Pat have a yokai drone? He does, but they're nowhere near. He can't deny. He's going to have to play the post plant. At least he can use this for some info. Get his teammates on that. 3 of teammates are on the yokai drones. Then now Joe trying his best to hold this position. The elevated angle for Pat, the spray! And Joe still alive, just dancing around the bar. Pat needs to land the shots, but Joe clutches it! What was the most elongated 1v1? Joe holds on for IG.
You can take a breath now, Dev. You can take a long, deep breath. That was... yeah, quite an extended 1v1 there. At the end, you could see Wildcard on the updated HUD were watching those yokai drones intently for Pat giving out calls, but unfortunately they weren't quite positioned close enough to Joe. He was able to stick that plant and then was able to play the post plant to perfection. He closes out the round. And Aviator Games looks very, very dire for Wildcard. That is 3 occasions now of the 3 they have attempted that the attack has prevailed. Wildcard, I don't think we'll be going back there if we end up going to overtime.
Yeah, definitely not a strong showing for Wildcard on that bomb side. Thankfully, they can go back to Kitchen Trophy, or Kitchen Dining rather, which is the only bomb site we've seen Wildcard get a win on so far this map. Now, that said, you know, 2-4-half, would that be all that bad? Would that be game over here for Wildcard? I don't know. Is this salvageable? I feel like it is.
Yeah. I think it is too. It's going to come down to the mental game, as it often does in Siege. I don't think statistically Wildcard are out of this matchup, even again if they lose this round. It's still a great opportunity for them to bounce back, but I can't help but feel on the flip side though that some of the ways these rounds have been executed by Invictus have to be frustrating, right? Like that last round, for example, Hysterics literally just hop breaches into Skull window, finds a 2k and turns the round on its head. Only a minute in, right? And you're not expecting that as the defense. That can be incredibly frustrating when something unplanned happens that disrupts the plans of your own. It can be difficult, I guess, to adjust to that and bounce back.
Yeah, I'm still recovering. Still recovering. I'll get there eventually, don't worry. Oh. Bit of info at 90. Loska, take out that drone and peel back. Like this pressure downstairs as well, though, for IG. And like you're saying, I very much agree with you. One of the things that we're seeing is really just setting Invictus apart is the fact that they absolutely send it when they decide to absolutely send it. No hesitation. When they decide they want to make a play, they make a play.
Well, you say that, but this one has been a little bit more conservative so far. Oh, maybe not. Joe just drops down and takes down Milo, who was getting a little bit cheeky there on the Oryx. And I guess Invictus are catching us off guard as much as they are Wildcard. It's another opening pick for the attack. Has been one of the strong suits for Invictus, but they still need to be able to convert that advantage. Only half the round remaining. They don't really have much control above. Joe is looking to get something done, but as we saw previously, Pat is down below delivering a lot of intel to the rest of his team using that pulse scanner.
Well, it was C4s that made the difference the last time Wildcard played this bomb site, and of course won this bomb site. It's all about those 2 pivotal C4 kills. One of the big differences here, though, for Invictus is Joe's on the buck now instead of the sledge he was on last time. And, of course, he's still alive, which means that he can start getting this vert without being so vulnerable to the C4s. Pat does have one in pocket, but it's so difficult now, especially with these angles being open. He's going to take a gamble. It might land, and there's Joe taken out.
That's nice. That's really nice, but Pat gets shot through the barricade. An attacker inside of Laundry. Applying pressure. Speakeasy off screen. Gets lit up. A single bullet will take him down. It's looking tricky here for Invictus. They haven't quite got a foothold for this attack, and with only 20 seconds to go, they need to go for something big, but Pat goes big. It's a huge run out. Doesn't get traded. Hysteric's looking desperately to try and find it. Needs to hit the shots, but he doesn't. Pat gets 3 in this round, and it's all over Red Rover. For Invictus, Wildcard shut them out.
What a convincing round for Wildcard. Despite losing that opening engagement once again, Molosca went down on the Oryx just like he did last time. Wildcard defended, kitchen dining, didn't matter. Big plays from Pat. It might not have been, well, of course it was firstly the C4, but then following on from that, what a run out from Laundry. He would have been detected for good amount of time before he landed that shot, and then to survive and find Hysterics as well. Wildcard really have some serious firepower on that dining site, but on every other bomb site, just completely abysmal. Invictus had a really, really strong attacking half, and despite those 2 flashes of greatness from Wildcard, at the end of the day, this is a very, very dominant scoreline in favor of Invictus into their defensive half now, which means Wildcard have to come out swinging on their attack to make up for it.
No, this isn't something you might see every day in some of the other regions, but here in APAC, and especially in the hands of Luna, Clash is definitely one of the favorites. And we need to see exactly how this defender will be incorporated into the defense. That shield can prove incredibly difficult and frustrating to deal with, but if Wildcard have done their homework, they know that leaving Clash unbanned will likely see her played. So with the likes of Vinny and Emo on the board, able to disrupt that shield, and maybe even Milo with his grenades, there shouldn't be too many issues if Wildcard do play against this shield efficiently.
Big roam for Hysterics all the way down in the basement. Jackal pick, though, does mean that those far and wide roams can be somewhat contained and suppressed. As Wildcard start to take from Master across, very different to what we saw from Invictus, who were very study-centric, though they did tend to just send it time and time again. There's the Aruni scanned out all the way downstairs, and Hysteric starts to pull back. Those scans won't last very long, and those footsteps have now disappeared. Gio's taking control now into Trophy, moving forward, but he's about to meet the Clash.
That's where things start to get tricky for Wildcard, and Luna has preemptively gone to this side of the map. Speakeasy taken down on the Jaeger. He'll be able to crawl back to the top of Red stairs. Milo might try and cut off anyone rotating down in that hallway to pick him up, potentially. I don't think anyone is there to pick him up, no. Wildcard will desperately want to try and finish this player off. Not only is it Speakeasy taken off the board, he's so dangerous, but it does take away a lot of that control and support offered to Luna.
It looks like IG have decided not to try and res Speakeasy. As I say that, Luna actually goes over. Is he tempted to go for it? Pushed out, whips around onto the SMG and finds a pick. That said, Hysterics was trying to make that flank up red, and he was shut down. We now have a player on Wildcard who's injured and trying to be salvaged, as 2 of the Aussies make their way up the stairs. Gio about to meet that Clash once again. Pat likely to be picked up eventually. It's a dangerous dance here for Wildcard. Oh, and the Clash once again, slowing things down. 55 seconds to set up for an execute here. That Clash still a thorn in their side.
Yeah, and with Vinny taken down on the Zofia, trying to concuss the Clash, no longer a viable option, so that's going to make things a little bit trickier. Milo does still have 2 nades in hand, but you want to use those for the deployable shields if they want to progress down the classical hallway, take out the Maestro Evil Eye as well. So they may well try and pick apart the rest of the defense and leave Luna the last man standing where he'll be defenseless, but that is going to be tricky.
Pat's low HP as well. Two-pronged approach now for Wildcard. They don't have the control they feasibly need here. Geo's smoke bounces back off of his teammate's elbow. Man advantage maybe, but that's not going to be enough now for Wildcard. Emo goes deep and he falls to the bullet hose of Joe, stepping up in his inaugural match with IG. And with that, Invictus find their 5th round.
Solid round there from Invictus. They held down the forward over towards Red Stairs, and even when things started to get hairy, they put up a bit of a last man stand. Luna in particular on the Clash played, some would say overly aggressive, but it did pay off, and he was, to his credit, able to then fall back towards site, waste even more time, and Wildcard then I guess filtered in towards the site, just completely hosed down. Bullets just raining down from left and right. Not a whole lot the attacker could really do. Starts to look a little bit concerning. The Wildcard.
Attackers need to locate
the late round just
bomb.
not quite connecting at the moment.
They were definitely met with a lot of contention in the mid-round as well, right? But despite Wildcard finding that early down onto Speakeasy, they did get the advantage out of that, right? They got Speakeasy and they got Hysterics, who was flanking. They lost one player for it, and they still hadn't dealt with the Clash. And I think it goes to show that it was the right call from Luna to just peel back and play his advantage, knowing that that Clash will be really deadly in the late round when Wildcard just have to funnel through these narrow doorways and corridors. So well played for IG.
5 seconds remaining.
They are looking to be quite convincing here on Villa, stretching this lead once again.
Locate a bomb and defuse.
Wait a second, is this?
Yeah, it is.
How did it take me that long to realize this is a living library defense?
Yeah, well, Living Library, the objective we see the least here on Villa, and part of that is because it's really just not in the meta, but it also requires quite a complex setup and the defense to be tight-knit. Only 2 players on site, that is Speakeasy and Hysterics. The rest presumably playing above, and Wildcard will be looking to test that Jordan. Aggressive over towards bedroom. Doesn't quite prevent the players getting on towards the balcony. Gets thrown out and will fall back. Released attempt to get shot at, but will scathe away still with full HP. Wildcard will be disappointed they didn't find this early pick, but they should be able to start taking control.
One of the key parts of this defense is that hold and vault up in AVG upstairs, but this defense can fall apart should the attack find a couple picks. We can see those vertical holes from Joe, likely those evil eyes on the bomb site as well. Really hard to go for a plant there on site with those holes still up and a player upstairs. For Wildcard, I feel like the slow and structured approach of trying to set up for a plant is not the play here. I feel like they've got to play to try and gain a man advantage, try and expose some weaknesses in Invictus and punish any player that's not tightly wound as part of the strat and covered by a teammate.
Yep, slow and steady though does tend to be the approach from Wildcard, at least historically. Maybe with Milo on the team it has been sped up a little bit. It hasn't really felt like that too much so far. We are almost 2 minutes into the round, and yes, Wildcard have good control over the north, but they haven't really put much pressure above. Instead, going horizontally, lines of sight or entry points even established here over towards the clock. But I can't help but feel the vertical above will have lines of sight towards this position. I don't know exactly how deep it goes. Maybe. Yeah, well, there you go. So even if they get in, it's going to be really difficult to get this plant down. You can see Luna is literally got a perfect line of sight over towards that breach.
Like, this is the ideal plant spot, right? The only real weakness to that plant spot on the breach is this vertical line. So Luna really needs to be pressured here, but it doesn't look like Wildcard is really prepared for this, especially with Speakeasy on site. Such a strong position, and he can swing at any time. Only 25 seconds left as well. And Invictus are covering all their bases. Wildcard, what is the play? Such a difficult setup for them, but flashed out on site. Speakeasy, 15 seconds. Wildcard, 5v5 on the last minute push. The smoke goes through, Speakeasy swings, falls, and now Lunametal trying to cover from above, but Wildcard step up massively. Pat's getting that diffuser planted, and IG have been caught with their pants down. There's 2 players left for this retake now. As Hysterics and Joe have to step up. 3 players from Wildcard up. 1 player on the ground for information. That air jab does. Oh no! Vinny gets Hysterics with the Claymore. Revenge for himself. And now Joe once again needs to clutch. But Wildcard have played this to a T. It may have been slow and steady, but there's surely no way they can lose this one. And they finally find their first attack round.
It looks scary there for Wildcard. Luna with the vert. We thought that he was going to be the man to win it for Invictus. We thought that he would shut that attack down, prevent the plant from going down, but in the midst of all that chaos, his impact, not enough. Players inside flashed, smokes used by the attack to cut off lines of sight, and amongst all that, Wildcard do come out on top. They'll be happy with that result. They managed to take down Living and Library, the site that we very rarely see here on Villa. Invictus trying to be a little bit cheeky, but it doesn't pay off. And they'll rotate over towards Dining and Kitchen as a result.
I just love that attack so much. Even though it was a bit strange, you know, it was very classic old Wildcard, 15 seconds left. Literally 10 seconds on the clock and it was a 5v5. That was when the first kill came out. But I think it was the fact that obviously Invictus were expecting the plant on the breach, and instead Wildcard actually shot deep and went for the plant kind of near the hatch, just on the south side of the hatch near where Jordan is at the moment. Thank you, Sky. And that meant that not only is that player protected from a lot of angles on site, but also you can't get vert on that position. It's actually the same plant spot we saw from, I'm going to say BDS last year, and I think it was a November Major. They did this beautiful Amaru up the hatch. Yeah, that was so good. The Wildcard replicated the same plant spot just without the Amaru, and I really like that. The smokes were just used to perfection. That said, you know, they're still behind 2 rounds, and Invictus have that defense. So I'm not going to be riding home for the Aussie fans just yet. I think Invictus are still in the driver's seat of this match.
Yeah, we have to agree with that sentiment. And Luna is playing the Clash again. We saw the issues that caused last time it was brought into the fray. Up to Wildcard to try and respond to that and take him down. Another player that needs to be dealt with is Hysterics. Then running around doing ridiculous things with his wrist. He cannot stand still for longer than 2 seconds, and that pays off. That's Geo taken down. A good start to the round, and that proves that you don't really need much structure with what you're doing. Just run around, and eventually you will find a kill.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes if you've got overall a well-structured team, you've got Clash on the back line, but you just got one guy who's, I don't know, had a bit of red cordial. He's just running around like a headless chicken. Sometimes that is the key to winning. And I mean, I want to know, like, I wish you could see, like, meters traveled. Or steps taken or something. Stat. That would be such a cool stat, like per round. And you just see like Luna Metal 5 and Hysterics like 500.
Honestly, you say that like it's exaggeration, but it probably wouldn't be too far away from the truth.
There you go.
Hysterics gets another, and he's down below now, and that's the kit over towards Red Stairs. So everyone from Wildcard trying to enter on that side of the map is not having a fun time whatsoever. And most importantly, they aren't being traded out either. So Wildcard not really playing off one another very well at the moment. And honestly, this round so far, probably a bit of a write-off. And if Invictus convert it, they'll find themselves on match point.
Surely Invictus can hold this one down. Milo is dancing around Trophy. This is a heck of a lot of damage though. Wildcard very separated, trying to work together, but it's so difficult. Emo's on that Astro window, or he was a moment ago. Milo's going to try and make this nade do something against the Clash, but he knows that there's no chance for him upstairs. He drops down. Lunametal will see that and call that out. But he's taken down now on the flank. from above, actually. Luna Metal gets aggressive with the SMG out. Now it's just Emo Rin. Be feeling a little bit emo in the 1v5. Not gonna be an easy task ahead, and a flawless round puts IG on match point.
Good work from Invictus. Wildcard not having a very fun time at the moment. Hysterics is just so insane, dude. We saw it in stage 1. Even when Invictus was struggling, he was constantly stepping up. And so far here in stage 2, he's replicating that really good form. Really positive to see from him. But again, it's not always just a case of one player stepping up. The rest of the team doing their jobs as well. Luna is one that also comes to mind. Playing quite aggressively on the Clash. Saw he might not be covering a lot of ground, but he is getting that timing right perfectly. There's so many times where you see a Clash refuse to change to the SMG or put the shield on the back, change to the SMG. And when they do, they always get the timing wrong. But for whatever reason, Luna is getting a down pat absolutely perfectly and just timing it to a T. He just knows when to bring it out and when he's going to get that kill every single time. And yeah, Wildcard not having a fun time dealing with that headache at the moment.
Yeah, man. Look, 3 rounds in a row for Wildcard to try and make this comeback happen. I can be optimistic for them. I don't think it's going to happen. Look, I pick Wildcard to win this game. My kind of, in my brain, the way I figured it right is, look, Joe compared to Ysera, I mean, I think maybe in the long term it would be an upgrade, but in the short term, I can't help but just expect it would be a downgrade. And for Wildcard, like, Milo over Silex, upgraded every way except for his chess capabilities. I mean, who can beat Silex at chess?
I don't know about that. Have you seen Silex with the SMG in hand? Like, I don't think Milo's ever gotten a kill with the SMG.
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm hyping up Milo a lot, but he hasn't been a massive player this game. He's had some good attacks, 3 opening kills, 3 opening deaths as well, though, so 50-50 on those opening engagements. But what I was saying is, like, on paper, right, I rate Milo really, really highly. I think in terms of his shot calling ability, I think in terms of, you know, his temper and just like what he can bring to kind of like the more just general comms and like mental side of the team, that would be really good. Plus, he's a really good fragger. So I just figured, like, okay, well, Wildcard, and they've got Milo, big upgrade in the play department, plus they have Rousey, we haven't really touched on, formerly coaching the European Rogue roster. Like, surely that's going to make a big difference for Wildcard. And clearly, I mean, if it has...
What is this engagement? Sorry to cut you, but what is this engagement? Speakeasy is using Luna as a portable mirror to try and spawn me.
I respect the goal from Speakeasy to be like, yeah,
I respect it as well, but that has got to be super frustrating as an attacker. Either way, Wildcard eventually give up on that, and we'll start to take some control, which is good to see a minute into the round.
Yeah, we have hyped Speakeasy, right? Because he had some really good attacking rounds, but defense has been a bit of a sleeper. We can see, of course, we had a rehost, but he is actually negative in the KD since that rehost. It's also the opening pick 2 of the 3 defense rounds so far. So not only does that show that, you know, maybe Speakeasy is not necessarily as cracked on defense right now, but the rest of Invictus can step up. One big player is Luna. The Clash has just been so impactful.
Vinny is pushing the flank over towards Pantry. Do Wildcard think there's a player down below on that side of the map? I mean, there isn't. We can see on the overhead. Hysteric Shaw is down below, but he's on
see Prince.
Their side of the map. No! It doesn't matter though. He still has an impact. Geo does trade it immediately, however. A very big pick from the Jackal. If that had have gone the other way, Invictus surely would have claimed this round, but Geo steps up and Wildcard hold on.
It's the first opening pick that has been traded all game, and Wildcard are in a much better position than they were the previous time they were attacking this bomb side, but Luna Metal's actually in a really strong position. Should he start to feel some pressure, he can fall back and get that irrigate to protect him from projectiles. 50 seconds left, and Wildcard, it seems to be, for the most part, a single-pronged approach. They're still having to deal with this Clash.
And Luna playing quite a similar position, a similar role here inside of Model or Aviator. Playing quite deep, preventing that entry over towards the top of Red Stairs, near Skull. just sitting back and waiting and forcing Wildcard to filter in towards the site. That's what they did last time. They got absolutely gunned down. They need to desperately clear the clash, but it's easier said than done.
Oh, this is a pivotal fight for Emo, but he can't land anything. And now into the meat grinder they go. Wildcard desperately go deep, but Luna is there, and Vinny, there's absolutely nothing he can do. Luna metal with the 360. That is Invictus Gaming International with their first victory and their debut match in Rainbow Six.
A good start to stage 2 for Invictus. A big statement being made here, and Wildcard left to lick their wounds a little bit, unable to deal with the frustrations thrown at them. Those obstacles proving too difficult to overcome. Hysterics went big. Joe, on his debut, went massive as well. And I'm sure Invictus will be thrilled with that result.
Big moment now for Invictus. Not only was that a victory, but it was a convincing victory and a much needed one, of course, on the back of SI, on the back of the roster change, on the back of the big organization picking them up. There are a lot of questions that are yet to be answered, and while they haven't completely restored themselves to their former glory, while they have only taken down Wildcard, which was the lowest rated team out of stage 1, this is the first step of many for this new Invictus roster.
Yeah, they caught me off guard. I genuinely did believe that Wildcard were going to be the stronger team heading in to this matchup. I just felt like Invictus probably were in their heads a little bit too much, especially based on their stage 1 results and SI not quite going to plan, but they bounced back really, really nicely. They looked cleaner overall. Their top players were stepping up. Their support players as well having a huge, huge impact. I know we said it a couple of times, but Luna, for example, on that clash, we saw it perfectly in that last round, right? Just absolutely impossible to deal with. He was just slowly backing, slowly backing, slowly backing. There was just nothing that Wildcard could do to deal with him. And the rest of the meat grinder did their job, and they sent Wildcard packing with 0 points, which is really disappointing for the Aussies. But Invictus, they can hold their heads high.
Yeah, for sure, but no doubt a bittersweet moment for Luna in particular. This is the first game he has played in official comp without his long-time partner in crime, Ysera, in what has been, 10.5 years. We'll have a chat to him in just a minute on the interview. Before that, the guys on the desk will run us through what happened that game.
Well, Invictus ended stage 1 with a victory over Wildcard, then Giants, now of course IG, and they start stage 2 with a win over Wildcard. Some things never change, Raven. A really solid performance in the end, though, 7-3 on Villa. They looked convincing. They looked like a team that is going to be competing for a top 4 position rather than a bottom 4 this time.
Yeah, definitely. They were convincing. They looked like they had, I'm not going to go far as saying reborn, but they just looked a lot cleaner than they were looking in stage 1. Even just some of the tight strategies they had. Guz pointed out the clash use that we were seeing from Luna. I think paired with the Aruni as well in that last sequence of play was just incredible, because he's just standing there with the gate open, Wildcard trying to flush him out, and then as he pushes back, they still have to deal with the gate anyway. Like, just some of those strategies that were really punishing the mistakes and speed that Wildcard were bringing to those attacks. Just overall, yeah, Invictus looking really clean.
Yeah, doubling down on issues. I think that we've always seen the Australian team struggle with whenever we see a shield out, I feel like the Australian teams seem to struggle, whether it's the Clash, whether it's the Monty. You know, it never seems to bow favorably for us. I think maybe, if I recall, like a Nico play on a Clash once. Like, outside of that, I really do just think that we have our struggles trying to deal with that kind of play style. So it's definitely something that I would like to see more from the Australian teams, find a way to adapt to it. But, you know, when there's a stat like 7 out of the 10 rounds, the opening kill going the way of Invictus, that is really a huge, I want to say task to overcome. I couldn't get the word out. It's task to overcome when you are coming back from that much of a deficit in every round. It really starts to just play in the back of your mind. And you know, for Wildcard, we know that they have had their struggles in the past 3 months, and it looks like it's not clearing up.
Well, for Invictus, though, their troubles do look like they're clearing up. We're going to go and have a chat with Luna and see how they are feeling after their win to start stage 2. a little bit of a peek of Cousin Dev there. Hello, Luna. Congratulations on the victory.
Hello.
A really good start for stage 2, which I think for you guys is probably just a stage where it's just about, you know, refining yourself, a refresher, and just rebuilding with this roster now with Joe coming into the lineup.
Yeah, it's really all about, I think, revitalizing was a good word that I heard a lot of times. Obviously, 2021, you know, it started out pretty rough for us, in and outside of game. And right now, I think the priority for us over the past few weeks was just to, you know, get rid of all the distractions and really focus and bunker down on what we're trying to do, which is win. And yeah, so far, pretty good game 1, I would say.
Yeah, look, definitely going to go with that sentiment. Pretty good game 1 from you guys. Look, I've definitely got to ask, how was it going into this stage, this game, without Ysera? Maybe talk us through some of the emotions that you were going through.
Well, it's just it's not the worst. I mean, I've like kind of mentally prepared myself for this kind of thing for a while, but it's just like a lot of the pre-game rituals, you know, having my vice cap not being here it's kind of different, I guess. Yeah, I try not to be so sentimental or emotional before any game day, and that's why you might see me having like an ice cold face most of the time. But that's just because I think to lead, you don't really want to have too many emotions that involve your judgment. But yeah, like I think the emotions don't really come out until you ask me that question. So like now that I'm thinking about it, you know, I'm a bit more sad than I was like before the game started. So yeah.
Good one, Raven. Why'd you do that, man?
Far out.
No, we had to ask you, Luna. Look, I mean, I'm not going to, because it's a bit of an emotional one, I'm not going to deep dive into your play or into the future or anything. I would like to know if there's anything that you would like to say, you know, on your behalf and the team's behalf for you, Sarah, because I know that you have been together for such a long time. I just wanted to know if there was any sentiment, you know, make this a little bit more of a side of a goodbye, you, Sarah, rather than you know, what happened in the game. So the floor is yours, my friend.
I wouldn't say goodbye because after this game we're probably gonna play ranked together and stuff. So we're still chill, we're still friends. It's not nothing to be overly like. He's not dead or anything, you know. He still lives down the road. So, but yeah, like I guess the one thing I'll say is you know, it wasn't an easy decision. But you know, like I'm really confident he'll bounce back. Like no, not too worried for him there. It's just a bit different now, but different is good sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to mix things up, and that's exactly what you guys have been able to do with this result. Hopefully for the season. Any final thoughts? Any shout outs that you want to give for the remainder of the season ahead?
Yep, shout out to Invictus Gaming and all our, you know, former Giants fans. I hope you guys will still show us that lovely support that you had for us, even though we are bearing new colors right now. Again, we look forward to the rest of the stage, and hopefully it'll go as smooth as it can be.
Hopefully it can. For the best luck to you guys. We look forward to watching more next week onwards. So thank you very much for coming and having a chat, Luna.
Okay, thanks guys. Have a good one.
Well, that was an awesome interview. I want to speak to Luna a lot more often. He's amazing. The team is back as well, Raven. It's good signs for Invictus Gaming International. And also the new Orc Curse. I don't even know if we touched on it, but they've just broken that one with a smashing victory over Wildcard, who, you know, I guess that now that we've chatted with Luna, we can maybe have a little chat about Wildcard and where they're at. Did you see good signs, Raven? Are you okay with that performance, or are you feeling like you maybe expected a bit more with Moloska coming in and a revamped Wildcard?
Yeah, look, I definitely was expecting more. You know, I felt like they would have been coming into that game. I'm not saying that they weren't, but like I feel like they would have come into that game really fired up. New stage for them, start fresh, so to speak, because stage 1 was quite the nightmare. But yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed with the way they played, but they obviously haven't had a massive amount of practice with Milo. They had to finish stage 1 without him. He was still, you know, obliged to a different team. But I'm hoping that as the weeks go on, we do see more and more from them. Again, maybe this is just a transition stage as they kind of progress through to whatever this new wildcard looks like. But yeah, I don't know. I am still concerned because that wasn't as good as I was hoping. You know, I thought at least a close match would be something that we could have expected, but
yeah,
it just didn't feel like that. It just felt like Invictus Gaming just pretty much had most of that control. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look, I'll quickly jump in. I think that it looks kind of similar to stage 1. Obviously not with, having a coach in and things like that. But I do want to touch on the fact that, it feels like Wildcard are still leaning into that 30-second meta that we saw them be so successful on in 2020. It still feels like they are leaving it to the end of the round. And more often than not, it just doesn't seem like they have enough of the boxes checked. And they end up running into still full amounts of utility. We saw it in the last round and multiple times with the bullet hose just spraying them down. I think that there's something in there that they are going to need to tweak moving forward to kind of solidify their place and get back on top.
I think we do have to remind ourselves a little bit here. Of course, it's their first outing officially with Molosca, and there's going to be some growing pains, and it is going to take a little bit of time, and I think Wildcard are a team that's going to be able to use Stage 2 to be able to grow and better themselves as a team, and the same can obviously be said for Invictus Gaming as well. Let's go and recap tonight's results, though. We've had some pretty good ones, and, well, for the Australians, some pretty bad ones. Started off amazingly, of course, Knights with a big comeback win over Elevate. Of course, there's going to be a lot of talking points out of that game for the next week or so, especially maybe even for the stage, as there is going to be big ramifications from that game for the top of the standing. 7th Heaven with a pretty big beatdown onto Order, an even bigger beatdown, though, Q confirmed, demolishing the Chiefs, and then Invictus Gaming International making their debut as an org, coming in and taking care of Wildcard. Raven, is there anything from this that has shocked you the most outside of the Chiefs QC? Because I knew you were going to say that, and I've just stolen it from you.
I was definitely going to say that, but look, I think, in a way, there was a lot of shock results tonight, but in another way, this is APAC South, man. Nothing should be a shock anymore.
No.
Everything is possible. Like, it's just so hard to predict some of these matches. It's a new stage as well, and every time you do have an off season and you come into a new stage, it's always really hard to gauge whether those old results still stand for something or whether things have just changed so dramatically. I guess my biggest takeaway, I would say, from tonight is it seriously still feels like that Elevated Knights are potentially like the top 2 in the league, but we've seen some pretty big emerging challenges. I really feel like 7th Heaven, they could continue to prove that they might be able to fight for that, and even Invictus Gaming, after the way they played tonight, might be able to start to make a run for that kind of top 3, top 2 position again.
I just think I'm going to keep it short and sweet, as I always do, because that's just, you're going to be a big brain player when you're the play-by-play and you go after a big color like Raven. But OS just need to step up their game. Let's just be completely honest there. That's the closing statement of the results is OS definitely need to up their game moving forward in this stage.
There's other people that need to step up their game as well, as we look at the caster predictions and the recap there, because I'm sensing there should be a leader, a man in front, and there's an Owen. Raven with his first Owen, I think, so far in APAC and OCN. I think you've joined myself and Raven and Manic. Has Guz had an Owen? I'm not sure if he has or not.
I'm not sure either. But...
I don't think he has. I think he escapes with the 1 and 3, though. Manic goes 50-50. So does Dev, and Xenox on top 3-1 with the big brain moves.
Oh, listen to him. Look, I'm going to defend myself here. First Owen I've ever had. But also, I don't know. Like I was saying before, anything's possible in APAC South. We used to harp on it last stage about how hard it is to predict. It's a bit of a luck of the draw. I might even adopt Manic's coin flip approach.
Honestly, that is tried and true. I am going to stick. The only one that I flicked a coin for was the Chiefs and Q confirm match, and look where it led me. It led me to a 2-2 day. So I'm telling you, there is logic. It is method behind the madness, and if you don't do it, well, you are going to drive yourself insane.
So what you're saying is it's still a 100% success rate with the coin.
Yes, that's 6.
5-0 now.
It's no, it's 6 from 6. Yep, it's 6 from 6. So
all right, well
yeah,
you'll have to bring it back out for next week, because it's going to have to save you. Let's go look at the standings. Of course, there are going to be some teams at the top, some teams at the bottom, and some teams in the middle.
No,
surprise, surprise.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. But what I will say, no OT tonight means we've got 4 teams on 3 points, guys, and 4 teams on a donut to kickstart stage 2.
Look, I mean, it's only the first play day. I'm not going to read into the standings too much right now, which I'm sure happened last stage as well. But I think we're going to see a lot of changes here. And I mean, to be fair though, that top 4 would stay that way, at least based on tonight's form. Like, it's not that some of these other matches were close. They weren't. 7-3, 7-3,
So you're saying
7-1.
Elevate's not in the top 4. Okay, Raven's saying Elevate not top 4. Okay.
That would be the only one I'd say would potentially change. But I don't know, like, that's the beauty about APAC South, right? Is every match can be exciting, and these standings could go any
So what
of
you're
the
saying
thousands
is
of formulas.
OCE bottom 3. Okay.
Ah,
Look,
all
I'm just
right,
taking
mate,
notes
all
from
right.
what Raven's saying. Rob, can you maybe give some love to OCE, because down the bottom at the moment, do you see a way for them to get into the top 4 outside of the Knights?
I'd love to say there is a way. However, we are really getting to a point where Southeast Asia is dominating APAC South. You know, we saw it tonight, and Q Confirm and 7th Heaven showing the promise that they have. It's really concerning. Order and Chiefs, teams that we were really expecting to be challenging in that top 4, where do they get their points from? Because it's going to be hard to take them from Elevate. It's going to be hard to take them from Knights. Where are they going to get these points from to reach top 4 if we can't see matches like 7th Heaven and Q Confirm be confirmed? So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried.
Well, you said Southeast Asia taking over APAC South. Maybe they're just taking over APAC in general, because as we know, South is better than North, based off of the playoffs from a couple of months ago. That's going to be us done today, though, for Playday 1 of Stage 2. We're just getting started. We've got 7 weeks of this. It's going to be fantastic to see which teams can make it to the playoffs once again. We'll be back